Just last month, a federal judge named Colleen McMahon ruled on the lawsuit to release this memo. So they'd filed a Freedom of Information Act request. They said no. Then they said, OK, it's no longer a request. We're suing you, demanding that you release this memo. And Colleen McMahon was the judge who received that lawsuit. And she ruled in the government's favor. She ruled that the government could keep it secret. The government could, in fact, keep secret their secret justification for killing a U.S. citizen without trial. But what was amazing about this ruling is that the judge was so vocally unhappy about having to issue the ruling. Look at what she said. Quote, "I can find no way around the thicket of laws and precedents that effectively allow the executive branch of our government to proclaim as perfectly lawful certain actions that seem on their face incompatible with our Constitution and laws, while keeping the reasons for their conclusion a secret." Quote, "The Alice in Wonderland nature of this pronouncement is not lost on me." She added that she was operating in a legal environment that amounted to a veritable catch-22. John Brennan faces his confirmation hearing to be the head of the CIA on Thursday of this week. He will face questions from senators on the Senate Intelligence Committee who will presumably ask him about his time in the CIA of yore under George W. Bush and his time as the face of the drone program under President Barack Obama. One of the senators who sits on the Intelligence Committee who's going to get a chance to question John Brennan is Oregon Democrat Ron Wyden, who's a bit of a contrarian on these issues. Senator Wyden recently wrote a letter to John Brennan asking for answers of his own about targeted killing and about why it's justified and exactly how it is justified. The questions themselves are so basic that they are almost more telling than some of the answers they could but probably won't receive. Questions like, for example, how much evidence does the president need to determine that a particular American can be lawfully killed? Also, this is one that sticks with me. Does the president have to provide an individual Americans with the opportunity to surrender before killing them? And are there any geographic limitations on the intelligence community's authority to use lethal force against Americans, including can any intelligence agencies kill people under this authority in the United States? Could the CIA or any other intelligence agency come kill you if the appropriate high-ranking official in the Obama administration, say President Obama, decided that you were affiliated with al-Qaeda and you were a threat and you might act imminently to endanger this nation? Could you then legally be killed as you laid in your bed? We may see on Thursday how many of those questions John Brennan will answer. But tonight, 4 days ahead of that hearing, NBC News' Michael Isikoff has obtained a document that comes closer than we have ever gotten to obtaining details about that secret memo that supposedly justifies this, the memo that may serve as the justification for the American government killing American citizens. Tonight, we have exclusive reporting on the contents of that white paper. Joining us now is NBC News national investigative correspondent Michael Isikoff. Michael, thank you for being here.
Good to be with you, Rachel.
So everybody has been looking for this memo. You have not the memo, but a white paper based on the memo. Does it tell us anything that we did not know before about how the government justifies targeted killings of Americans?
Yes, in short, it does. It provides detail. It fleshes out some of the arguments that have been made publicly, and in ways that in some instances contrast with what has been said publicly. Now, to be fair, Attorney General Holder gave a speech last March where he laid out the administration case for targeted killing of Americans. He gave a three-part test. If there's an imminent threat of a violent attack against Americans, if capture is not feasible, and if the attack is carried out, if the strike is carried out in accordance with law of war principles. Well, let's take that first one first. Imminent threat of violent attack. That's the way Holder defined it. When you look at this 16-page memo, which I've obtained, which is a further legal justification, you see that actually they refer to what they call a broader concept of imminence than direct active intelligence of a plot against the U.S. In fact, it explicitly states that Imminence does not mean that the United States has to have clear evidence that a specific attack on U.S. persons or interests is underway. If the U.S. believes that the target has in the past been involved in such violent activities and the target has not renounced such activities, it can be assumed that they are an imminent threat now, and that would justify an attack. Now, again, remember, we're talking about targeted killings of Americans. We're talking about making decisions based on secret intelligence. And we see in this memo that some of the definitions are a bit more elastic and open to interpretation than the administration has publicly let on.
Well, Mike, on the three parts, so it has to be imminent risk, and you've just described the broader concept of imminence, which is the phrase that's in the white paper. Which is a phrase in the memo,
yes.
Yeah. And then that there can't be a capture, that we're killing somebody because they can't be captured. There's also an elaboration on that, which seems to me to be quite a wide definition. I mean, I'm fascinated by the fact that we don't really capture terrorist suspects in Yemen and Somalia and Pakistan and these other places where we know American drone strikes have killed people. People get killed there. They don't get captured. The definition for why a capture is impractical also seems to be very, very wide.
Exactly. What the memo says is that there are relevant factors that could be considered, including whether there would be an undue risk to U.S. personnel in conducting a capture operation. Again, that's a factor that was not stated publicly by Attorney General Holder and raises a host of questions. What is an undue risk? Who determines what that risk is? And how is this balancing test met? There's also language in there that suggests that if the host government, where the target is located, is not on board with a capture operation, that could be a reason to conduct a targeted killing as well. I mean, the problem when you go through this memo, and by the way, we're posting it all on NBCnews.com tonight, and people can read it for themselves, is that there's a lot of language in there that is, as I said before, somewhat elastic, somewhat open to interpretation, and can be defined in very different ways by different administrations in the future, by the way.
Michael Isikoff, NBC News national investigative correspondent. Again, Mike's story is now posted at NBCnews.com, and we're going to have the memo up there as well, Michael?
Yes, we will.
All right. Thanks for being here.
Be up there now.
Congratulations on the scoop. Appreciate it. You being here with us. Thanks.
Sure enough.
All right. Lots to come. New York Magazine's Frank Rich is going to be here. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. We are for free education. We do not give up. Expect surprises. Subscribe.